Welcome back to Switched to Linux. Well, today we're going to address a very fascinating question. We're going to ask, has Bryan Lunduke gone insane? So if you follow Mr. Lunduke, then you know that it was last week or so, he released a video. In fact, right about a week ago, he released his State of the Show episode on May 16th, in which he said big changes are coming. He's going to take all of his future long-form content, take that off of YouTube, put that exclusively for the patron supporters, and then as he does that, he's only going to release small portions, small videos here and there, just kind of like advertising, bring people back in, and it's just a couple little 2 or 3 minute clips. And what you notice on some of these videos is the like to dislike ratio is very, very skewed in the negative. And you saw a lot of that on a lot of things. Basically, Bryan put himself in line of fire with a big shirt with a target on it. And then, of course, a couple of days after that, he released another video, which there were a lot of anti-Jewish comments on his comment threads, on the new ones, on the old ones, and so he went through and completely disabled all comments on the video. So I first saw this when I very first saw the State of the Show, and I said, that's going to hurt the sub count. And so, of course, I went over to Social Blade, and don't worry about this number. This number's been doing weird stuff all day on all channels. But what you see here is that starting Wednesday, and he put this out Wednesday evening, where he would ordinarily get somewhere between, looks like, a dozen, from a dozen up to 4 or so dozen subscribers. He then started to bleed subscribers. Minus 24 on Wednesday, 120, 164, 75, 456, 166. It's Tuesday now. It's not quite the end of the day yet, and he's gone down 85 as of now. Of course, if you look at the view counts, you can get a pretty good average what they might have looked like over here. Of course, the average is listed at 7,000, so between 6,000 and 8,000. But ever since this happened, it still brought more viewers to the channel. So 8,000, 7,000, 8,000, 6,000. So, and then of course we had this 12,000 the very day he released all this. This might have been when he did the anti-Semitic video. In fact, I think that was the case. And then, so of course, I will note, though, this number over here, that ever since this occurred, he seemed to get a lot more views. And I will tell you, you get paid per views, not per subscribers. Okay, so I'll tell you that is kind of the case. Now, he talked about very good and very valid reasons for this. It is hard to do this type of content and get paid for it. And of course, DistroTube did a great video here. I'd encourage you to watch all this one as well, where he talks a lot about it. So I'm going to build off of my own experiences and some of DistroTube's comments about this to tell you what my thought and my view of this happens to be. All right, so first and foremost, I don't know. I've not personally met Bryan Lunduke. I'd still like to. I think he's a great guy. And I remember the first thing, like most people's exposure to Bryan Lunduke, the first thing I've seen with him was a Linux Sucks video. And so, and I laughed like crazy. I loved it. It was great. And I watched, not hardcore faithful every single video Bryan puts out. I don't necessarily watch. But there's a lot of things he's done pretty well. There's been a few videos I disagreed with him on over the course. But I wanted to first and foremost say, where are the similarities lie? Because Bryan and I have a lot in common. We use free and open source software everywhere possible. Even sometimes questioning, do I even need to use a task if I have to use closed source software? And I don't think either one of us are absolutely dogmatic to the degree of Richard Stallman on that. If I look over the various things that I use on a day-to-day, there's probably a few non-free things in there. Even the drivers on this computer behind me, I'm running Debian, I have the non-free packages there so that the AMD drivers work over there on that computer. So I'm not like absolutely hardcore, blah, but at the same time, everywhere possible, even if it's a little bit more difficult, if there is a free and open source option, I like that. I like to use that. The next thing is we tend to avoid social media. I'm not on, do I have any social accounts other than YouTube? I think I might still have a Twitter account attached to my writing stuff, but I don't know. I'm never really over there. We are very privacy minded. I am very, very concerned with privacy. And I watched a fabulous video today on digital minimalism, which I looked at and I go, oh, this stuff is okay, but literally his entire archive backup of all of his videos for his professional business was having them on a YouTube channel. I will remind you, if that YouTube channel goes kapooey for some stupid reason, you've lost that all. So I would not recommend that model of things. But we are very privacy-minded in what we do. I talk about other ways to use similar services that are all your own things. We believe in his mantra. He calls it being excellent to all. I follow the golden rule, do unto others that you'd have them do unto you. Same exact principle. That's where we are. We are both faith-guided, although a different faith. I am a Christian. He is a Jewish man. And it's clear that that is important to him and to I. And so that is interesting. And we are both committed to freedom of speech. And that is also important because he came to the defense of anti-Jewish skinheads last summer. And that is a, whatever. And I support people's free speech. I support a little regulation as far as what can some of that speech do for younger audience members. I want informed consent. I want to know if I go out and there's a movie, I love the rating system, that I can see what's on the back. I can make an informed choice. And so that's the thing, is we're both committed to freedom of speech, although we don't necessarily like what other people say. And so, of course, as Bryan gets involved in the middle of all this, he is undoubtedly getting a lot of negative comments, and to lock everything behind a paywall means that there is basically a money trail to anybody that might be putting out threatening things. And I'm a little different. I don't have a family. You're not going to threaten some child of mine. But at the same token, we need to understand where he's coming from. So there's obviously been some negative criticism of his approach, and even reading some of the comments, I guess since he can't post the comments on Bryan's channel anymore, some people have posted their comments on DistroTube's channel instead. Some people saying that, various reasons he unsubscribed. I even unsubscribed to Bryan. It wasn't over this. It was a while back. But the thing is a lot of people are saying one person had said something about, where was it at? I got to find that quote. It was a fascinating quote that specifically came from Bryan in one of his videos. I don't remember what video it was, but, anything about blocking any form of speech. And I think, I don't know, maybe the thing was taken out of context. I'm not sure. But regardless, what I want to say is to defend Mr. Lunduke on this matter. First and foremost, for the people that say it's, and I hear all sorts of this from, free platform to it's YouTube or it's a private business or whatever else. I want you to understand that in our world, making videos is a job. This takes a lot of time. I could work 8 hours a day at a day job and then come home and do nothing, or I can spend some more of my time. Does that mean this is a hobby for me? No. I have seen the writing on the wall in my occupation, and rather than waiting until it completely dries up, I'm looking for alternative means of making an income. And believe it or not, YouTube is a viable career. So there are a lot of people who make a decent living just doing this. And I don't mean to say just YouTube, but video content creation, or I use it and I bill my books as content creation. Because I write books, I do videos, I write essays. There's a variety of things that I do, not unlike Bryan. And the reality is, we can't look at this decision and go, well, you're all about the money. Well, maybe, because I got news for you. I went down and I wrote a sizable check to the landlord today to pay my rent because for whatever reason, my landlord is all about the money. And I'm on the internet right now because I paid a bill to Comcast, and believe it or not, Comcast is all about the money. And I have to have this electricity flowing in and out of the house, and the electric company is all about the money. And I have a cell phone so I can talk to people and communicate, and the cell phone company's got to get paid because it's all about the money. Believe it or not, people, we have bills to pay, and this is a viable way of making an income. It is. It's a viable way of making an income. So we all need to pay our bills. I have bills to pay. Bryan has bills to pay. And so he put things back behind paywalls, and we'll get a little bit more into this. Information is a viable business. There are I could take the skills that I've learned from doing YouTube, and I could go out and advertise video editing or talking in front of a camera or recording into a microphone or doing a variety of different things. I have learned the skills to do that from this. And I always am telling people it's not necessarily about your college degree that's going to make you successful. It's what type of experiences do you have. And I'm talking about my other clients who had no idea I even do anything on YouTube. And I'm like, yeah, I do a lot of video stuff. And they offered me a job doing some stuff down the road in video. This is a viable job. Information is a viable business. Information has been a viable business for centuries. People have bought magazines. They have bought, it's just, movies. We've bought all sorts of things, whether it's education or entertainment or edutainment, as some may call what we do here. There are a lot of things about it that we need to keep in mind, that we have in our hands a viable business. And to just say YouTube's just as a hobby, that's not treating the entire thing fair. YouTube is a great platform, but it does have its limitations. And what Bryan is experiencing is what all of us are experiencing. I'm experiencing it. He's experiencing it. All of us are experiencing it, that there is a challenge to free access and to revenue. Because if we could just get out our videos, and our videos would actually be out there and viewed, and the advertising would work the way it's supposed to work, rather than getting hit by demonetization on every single video, then we wouldn't have quite as much. It would be worthwhile, in which case I put the video up on a platform that offers it to me. You watch a platform because you come to the platform to view the videos. An advertiser says, hey, here's a whole bunch of people who one big company made a platform available. Other people come and watch the content. So let's put ads in the middle there. And that way, both the content creator and the website owner can both be paid simply for showing our advertisements to the third people who just come along to consume. It's a good model overall. There's a few challenges that shows up. And to lock down all of your videos behind a paywall, it may or may not be a bad thing. Now, I'm going to get into this a little bit more later. I think Bryan went about the wrong way, but I support that it could very well be a way to go. Of course, how can we get paid in this information world? Well, some of it's paid access. I think a person who did it probably better than most people did is Eli, the computer guy, who is probably arguably more well-known than Bryan Lunduke. I mean, Bryan's YouTube channel has 45,000 subs. Eli's is pushing 1 million, okay? Because he has worked in a broad range of information technology. Bryan is very, very well known in the smallest computer industry there is. He's a very big fish in a very small pond. Eli is a medium-sized fish in a pretty large pond. And Eli was able to transition to paid access in a good way, but he also did a little bit different in that all of that old content will eventually be publicly available. It's just paid access gets you access to it a lot earlier, maybe when things are more relevant, things like that. So we'll talk more about that. The other way, of course, is you can do advertisers. Bryan has had advertisers. I'm not sure if he still has those advertisers or not. I'm not certain. I'm not a subscriber to him on Patreon. I was at one point in time. I'm not any longer. Just because I simply can't afford to support a lot of different content producers, and that's the thing. So I'll be missing out on a lot of Bryan's content. And I'm not sure if he's carrying the advertisers along in this or not. He might. Looks like some of his views are about the same size. I don't know. But advertisers is another good way. Another way you can make income is affiliates. Affiliate marketing is where, and I'm working on building affiliates for this. So I've already established the 4 web hosting companies I'm going to have as affiliate marketing. So I will have those available. Of course, I have the Amazon affiliate links down there as well. You can check those out. But affiliate marketing is a decent way to make a little bit of income. The other way, I didn't write it in my notes here, but the other way is what Louis Rossmann is doing. Louis Rossmann's group, he has established his own store, and he is effectively sponsoring himself in his own stores, talking about it. I should probably do a little bit more of that. Of course, I have, you can get, not this t-shirt, but you can get a variety of different t-shirts, coffee cups, etc. from my store, but I also sell some books. Now, some of my books are focused on a more spiritual end. I will be having some books on a more secular end. I have a few good ideas written down I'm going to be looking at. But those are all the ways that we can have access and information access with publicly available information leading us to other ways. Or the other option, what Bryan is doing, what Eli did, paid access. You want to see my content? You can pay. Because Bryan is very influential in the Linux community. If you're talking about in the Linux community, now, you're going to get a lot of your higher end people. You're not going to get a lot of your lower end people. And you know what? That's probably okay, because the higher end people support that and would give it. And somebody had actually listed, I thought it was somewhere here in DistroTube's thing. I can't seem to find it now, but it was a link. It was a link to the fact that the Patreon account went way up. I have no idea where this source came from, but this is allegedly Bryan's Patreon amount. I have no idea if this is accurate, but this is what somebody had commented. Here is the amount, and then you can see it's up pretty high at this point in time, and I think he might still list that publicly, so that very well may be true. But you can see what happened in response to, the last few days is it really went up a lot. So maybe it was a good business decision after all. So we'll kind of get more into that in a little bit. But there are business considerations, because YouTube is not just all about being in a closet, your little hobby, and stop whining, you little sellout. That's not what we're talking about. This is a viable way to make money. Influencing is a viable way to make money. It is viable. And that's what Bryan is doing, is he is setting up his life to have just a different type of model, because it's very clear relying exclusively on YouTube is not a long-term sustainable thing. YouTube is too fickle. There's times you'll get several $100 in ad revenue, and then it drops down to almost nothing. And there seems to be nothing. There's times that the demonetization bot shows up and demonetizes every single video that you do for a week, and then it moves on and bothers someone else for a while. But don't worry, it will be back. I promise, it will be back. It seems to have left my channel again, but pretty soon it'll be back, and then every single video I have, no matter how family friendly, is going to get hit with the demonetization bug. It's a fickle business. So what do I think that Bryan did incorrectly here? Well, first and foremost, and some people have said this in the comments on DistroTube's video, is using Patreon to make it all work. Because Patreon, not only is it a closed source system, but if you've used Patreon, I hate it. It is a hot and happy mess over there. They have no idea how to make stuff work, and it somehow gets worse every month I'm on it. You can't get over there and very easily, you can't get over there and very easily write messages to somebody. I get a whole lot of emails where somebody writes, "Hi, Tom," and then they hit a space because they intend to put a space there, and the space sends the message because you can't put a space in there. And so you end up with a whole lot of that. It's very, very hard to communicate back and forth. It's also closed source. It's also not available everywhere. And so those are some things that are challenges. I myself am working on a platform that for anybody that wants to support my channel and my work that's independent of Patreon. And it should be available everywhere. I got to get all the other fun back-end stuff. I'll launch it in the United States first and then carry on from there. But my system is based all on free and open source software. I'm building it out that way. The next biggest problem that he did is he blocked access to his content, which is in many ways great content. He blocked access to younger people who don't have access. Or in my case, I don't really want my younger viewers to be sending me money. I don't want a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old to be sending me money on Patreon or on PayPal or whatever else. I don't want that. I want them to wait until they have some disposable income. But for the people that have disposable income and want to help support what I'm doing, that's why I make it available. And so he did block access to younger people. And how about broke people? Chris Ware talks a lot about on his channel about how he loves the free and open source software because it helped him build a business at a time he was too broke to buy software. And I know what that feels like. A lot of times I don't buy extra software simply because I can't afford it. Especially these days where everything's going to a subscription model. You think I have $50 a month to put into Adobe's pockets? Well, I build websites for people for peanuts? Adobe has lost their ever-loving mind. I'm so glad we have GIMP and Inkscape and everything else I can use to do all of those tasks. And I think that another wrong thing he did is just how he did it. Just the 1-2 hit of all the comments, just immediately canceling that out. I don't know. I don't know if there was a better way or not. So what are the learning points we can take home from this? And some of these will be more take home. One of those is more direction. By the way, these learning points are really helping me because I'm getting ready to launch a support platform for myself, which caters into supporting all three of my channels. And so number one, more direction and communication. When I am about ready to launch, I want to do a whole video outlining what it is, what it does, how it works, all that kind of stuff. So more direction and communication for sure. Number two learning point to counteract some of these things is I would build a platform for yourself, or at least get a platform that is based on free and open source software. If you want to be a champion for free and open source software, use free and open source software to block up and put up your paywall. That's a good way to do. How to allow access for younger viewers. We have some amazing young people in the Linux community. Pizza Loving Nerd, Sad Error, 253, Tech Bismo, not to mention the guys like Noah, the Linux historian, and Farron OS is also fairly young. These people are young people in the community that you've effectively blocked out. These are people who, if they keep their present course, are going to change the world. And you've blocked them out of your content. And that's a scary thing. And of course, I've mentioned this already, but maybe we should stick to our free and open source software instead of Patreon, because Patreon itself can be a little fickle. They can be fickle. So let's go ahead and answer that final question. Has Bryan Lunduke gone insane? No, not at all. He did what he needed to do for his channel, and if this thing here works, he might be losing a few subs. Video views are about the same, which means advertising dollars is about the same, and his Patreon went up by 33%. Looks like it was a good business move. I would do it a little different personally. I don't want to lock, and I won't be blocking my long-form content out necessarily. But it seemed to work for him. I think he'll be fine weathering the storm. If my Patreon overnight went from 2,000 to 3,000, I could deal with that. I could actually build less websites and put more into building my channel and researching articles and doing other things to help bring back to the community, to give back to the community. So no, Bryan has not gone insane. Bryan looked at a series of different business things, and I think he made freeloafers angry. I think he made people who think that YouTube's just all about putting up a camera in your mom's bedroom angry. But Bryan is in the information technology business, and it is a very viable business, and there are a lot of ways to do it. That's my take. I don't agree with everything he did and how he did it, but I don't have to. I'm not Bryan. He is. And he's got more information on his situation than I have on his situation. So no, Bryan Lunduke has not gone insane. He's still a great guy. Love to meet him sometime. But at the same token, you know, there is a lot of negativity going his way. And I'm going to say this, guys. If you're one of those people sending him bad comments on his channel, stop. Stop. He did what he needed to do for his family. And, you know, there's some challenges. The people who stick exclusive to YouTube and all this kind of stuff, they may wake up one day without a platform. And that's one of those considerations to keep in mind. So that's kind of my take on it. What's your take? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And we'll kind of go from there. So thanks for watching. Once again, if you'd like to help support what we are doing, you can check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/TomM. I do have a variety of other ways you can help support. So any updates or changes that may apply after this video is up will be at switchtolinux.com/support. And I actually do have an online shop if you want to get something like nice water bottles, things like this, coffee cups, mugs, t-shirts, and actually have a very nice mouse pad as well. You can get those at shop.switchtolinux.com. So thank you for watching, and hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.